source.
Nice looking Monday. Hope you're doing well. An author who has been in the studio before is with us again. Linda Tillis is here. She's got a new book. It's not out yet. I just looked on Amazon and it's not even released yet. It's called A Heart for All Time. Linda is going to be at a book signing at the Denellen Public Library and another book signing at the Bellevue Public Library this Thursday in Denellen, this Saturday in Bellevue. Oh, you're doing the thing with Lee, right?
Yes.
On Saturday? Okay. Linda worked in the garment industry for 18 years. Whoa, that kept you in stitches. She worked as a crime... Sorry. Everybody says it here, right? She worked as a crime scene investigator in forensics for 20 years. Oh, I remember you telling us this. She is a nature photographer. I was yesterday, by the way. She's a 911 dispatcher, a call taker for 7 years. Oh my gosh, you've done a lot.
But that's tough.
And a member of the Sunshine State Romance Authors. And her opening act today was Steve Berry, so that's pretty good. If your opening act is Steve Berry. Let me put the camera on you. There's your cover of the book. How are you, Linda? Good to see you.
I am wonderful, and thank you for having me.
I wondered this about the last visit. How many times have you been with us? Is it more than once?
This is, I believe, the third time, because it's book number 3.
So what do you remember about us?
I remember that I had an awfully great time visiting with you. It was lots of fun.
Do you know what I wondered? I wondered if you remembered about us, how much I carried on about your accent.
Yes, I do remember that.
Because I love the way you speak.
And I will tell you why I remember that. Because now the first book is on audio. And the man who does the audio narration is awesome. And I swear, I think it was an act of God that I found this gentleman to do the narration. You know, the first book was set in Trenton, Florida, started in Trenton and moved to Tallahassee. When my publisher put the book on ACX to bid for a narrator, we put up a block for them to read, and they decide if they would like to do the book or not. And he immediately contacted me and said, I really want to do your book because I am from Trenton.
Wow.
And you'd have to hear him because he talks a lot like I do.
Oh, that's nice. Well,
yeah.
See, I always think, and I know, no offense to any other readers, but I always think you should do your own book.
Well, you know, you got to have a lot of equipment, and it's not.
Well, why? Why can't you use somebody else's?
Well, I don't know of anybody close by, and I just don't think it's as easy as someone would think.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, this guy, his name is T.J. Allen, and there's so many characters in the first book, and he made every character individual.
Oh, okay.
Every single character is individual. He was awesome.
Well, you look great. How have you been?
I've been very well, thank you.
And how's your husband?
He's just awesome.
He has been here before, correct?
No, he has not.
He's never been here.
No.
Okay, I'm sorry.
He is my biggest supporter.
That's good to have, right?
Oh, please.
So did you work in as a 911 operator and working in a, it sounds like a factory job, the garment industry?
The garment industry was, it was right here in Ocala. You know where the community high school is?
Yeah.
I don't know what they call it now.
I know what you mean.
Southwest 10th Street?
Yeah.
That used to be a garment factory.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't know that.
Oh, yes, for years. And when everything started going overseas, it died. And we were the second highest employer of women in Marion County, short of the school board.
So you worked a sewing machine?
For 9 years I did, and then
gosh,
for 9 years I was assistant to the production manager.
So how does that all play into being an author? Do the things you've done in the past somehow find their way into your books?
The 20 years as a crime scene person and the 7 years as a 911 dispatcher birthed the books. I needed to get things out. It's a pretty darn trying job
I bet.
Can I read you something?
Oh, yes.
I'm going to read you the dedication to this book.
Okay.
And I mean every word of it sincerely. This book is dedicated to the backbone of every law enforcement agency, the highly trained, detail-oriented, steady as a rock dispatcher, that woman or man who is truly the first responder, the one who hears the screams of hysteria and still manages to extract the information a responding officer or deputy needs to stay alive, the one who consoles and soothes and instructs the mother whose child is not breathing, or the little old woman who cannot
Wow.
perform CPR on her husband. Then, when the responding officer arrives, the dispatcher disconnects, takes a deep breath, and answers the next ringing emergency line again and again. 12 hours a day they do that.
Do you know how
Makes
much
you cry.
that moved me?
Oh, well,
My father, his birthday is today. He's deceased.
I'm sorry.
And no, it's okay. He was a dispatcher in New York City
Awesome.
for 10 years. He worked for the police department for 20 years, but he got hit by a car.
Oh,
And then they put him indoors because they had a normal foot patrol beat, whatever they called it at the time, in 1952.
well, the rest of this dedication is, and to my beau, who held me when I cried after my 12-hour shifts of trying to help save lives over the phone.
Wow.
Again
Well,
and
good for
again.
him.
The families are so important because there is no way that you can come home after 12 hours of that
Yeah.
and
yeah.
the family not feel the tension or the pain
So-
or whatever. So
That just tells me that I really should call 911 more often and just give you a little comic relief. Just
they create their own comic relief. Trust me,
do
they
they
have
really?
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 o'clock in the morning when the phones are dead. But seriously, it's a very difficult job, and I just wanted to write a book
Let's be-
for dispatchers.
so that's what the book is about.
The heroine in this book is a 911 dispatcher who has lost her family. She had an unfortunate marriage.
Sarah.
Her name is Sarah, yes. She had an unfortunate marriage, and she lives alone, and her work has become her life. And she has accrued so much comp time that they've told her, you have to take a vacation. And that actually happens in real life. And so she likes to hunt antiques of all kinds. And she goes, this book is set in Tennessee, Greenville, Tennessee, which is where my sister lives. Beautiful area. If you've ever been up in Northeast Tennessee, it's just absolutely awesome. And so my Sarah, she travels over to Asheville, North Carolina, and does a little antiquing and finds a piece of Cherokee Indian jewelry. And she looks at a lot of things while she's there, but she decides to buy this arrowhead necklace, and she takes it home, and it's first day of her vacation, and she decides, I'm too tired to even go into town. And so she just sits down, and as she goes to sleep, this piece of jewelry transports her back to 1890.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, no.
And she meets a man there who is about to be hung. And she's a very enterprising young lady. If they had had an NRA in 1890, I believe she would have been a member. And so she...
Cat.
And
above her boot.
anyway, she saves this gentleman's life, and the love story begins right there.
But that is what is wonderful about your book is that you lead up to events and you also manage to make the events that lead up to the event mysterious.
Well, there is a thing that they call in writing, it's called a hook. And if you can leave a hook at every chapter, then they'll want to go on and read the next chapter. And so it's something I try to do is make it, obviously, what's the point of writing a book if nobody's going to want to read it?
I'm so glad you told us that because you just helped me understand something a whole lot better.
What's that?
The other day, Robin was hanging up some curtains and she needed a hook. and so we went to Lowe's. I am not making this up. Robin will tell you. We went to Lowe's and we couldn't find them. We didn't know where to look. And so Robin said, "Do you have any hooks?" And two people at once looked at her like, a hook.
Yeah.
Like, and I said to Robin, maybe they're writers. Maybe they didn't picture a hook.
The hook that I wanted.
Songwriters also call their parts of their songs hooks, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Some wording that leads you right on through the.
So when you're writing a book and you have to come up with a hook, this is more of a writer's question because you belong to writers groups too, right?
Yes.
So I'm guessing some young writers, new writers, probably are faced with this challenge. How do you determine whether it's as good as it can be as a hook? I mean, not the whole story, but the hook.
Well,
Do you have to bounce it off other people?
I do. I was very fortunate to have two young ladies who, Cindy, Susan, you know I'm talking about you. They were kind enough. I would write 2 or 3 chapters and then email it to them. And they would say, okay, I want more. And I would know that I was going along pretty good because they would say, hurry up. I need the next chapters. I need to know what happened. They were very, very helpful to me. And it's always good to have some feedback from someone. You want to make it interesting, but you want it to be believable, even in a case of a paranormal like this, time travel. You want it to be believable. You want people to just fall into the story.
But you don't want it to be predictable, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You gotta
So the other day we were
things up.
watching a new Woody Allen movie, and I know Woody Allen is known for comedy, but this was not a comedy. It was almost a drama, I guess. It was a drama. And halfway through, I said to Robin, let me tell you what I think is going to happen.
Oh.
And I almost had it right. Almost. So I think he would have been disappointed to know that it was predictable
Yeah.
as a writer.
My husband says I'm the worst thing in the world. I'll say, oh my gosh, they're going to do this. And they don't. And 10 minutes later, I'll say, oh, you know this is going to happen. And it doesn't. And he says, just let the movie happen.
Tell Robin, tell the listeners what you said to me. I said, how are you? What did you say when you first came in here?
Fine as frog's hair split 3 ways. Okay, I think you're making fun of me now.
No, don't think that.
No. I'm just teasing. I'm used to it.
No, I love the accent and I love the figures of speech too.
Yeah, I do too, and I try to put some of them in my books.
You write from a psychological standpoint, though, and you let the emotions rise to the surface, even though the characters don't want those emotions to rise to the surface. It's very creative.
I try to keep my characters very believable, and most folks have problems letting their emotions open up to everyone. Most of us have a few people that we can be totally honest with, a very good friend, or if you're lucky, your husband or wife, that you can actually tell them how you feel and know that they'll accept that. There won't be a criticism, anything like that. And I try to make my characters that way.
Do you know what's weird about what you just said? You're absolutely right. I'm just going to use myself as an example. I'm pretty much I'm a clam. I don't tell anybody anything. But on this microphone, I'm as honest as I can be. And I'm wondering if, as a writer, are you the same way? In other words, the strangers who listen to the radio show, they get to know me better than people in my real life.
There's something to that in that you don't really know those people. And you're sitting in front of a microphone and you don't really have contact with them. And they're not going to call you in a few minutes and say, are you crazy? They
might.
Well, they might. I don't know. I don't know what kind of calls you get. But there's something about that disconnect. And it's that way with writing. You're able to put emotions into a book that you could not share with other people.
And you center your novels around family because you also bring up Jeremy in this novel.
I'm very family oriented. Family is the most important thing in the world to me. It's frankly, I think it's what keeps the world together. Most people who have emotional problems or go off and do crazy things are people who don't have family, or have family but they're not connected.
Yeah.
They're not
I think
cohesive.
you're right. Yeah.
family is, it's just the way God intended things to be, I do believe.
I think so too. So how do you walk the fine line with the romance part of your stories, as far as not going to a place where your readers might be a little uncomfortable, if you know what I mean?
Well, that's a good question, and for me it's a big deal because it's very difficult for me to write a love scene. And I do not understand why, but it is. And my books are referred to as sweet. Now, that's not to say that
I would say that's a compliment.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah,
I take it as one. But there is sexual tension there. Mm-hmm. But I like to build up the sexual tension and then close the bedroom door. And then the reader is free to interpret whatever level of heat they want to interpret.
Right.
Well, they can think about what went on behind that door and see it in whatever frame they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
I went a little further with this book than I have in the previous two. And my husband says, that's good, you're growing. you're loosening up a little bit. But
well, maybe there's truth to that. What do you think?
Oh, I think there probably is truth to that.
Yeah.
I think every time I write a book, I grow a little in some aspect.
You're really enjoying this part of your life, aren't you?
Oh my gosh,
This
yes.
is fun for you.
I have worked very hard all of my life.
Sure.
And now I'm working, but it's such a different kind of working. Although it's difficult. I knew nothing about writing before I joined the Sunshine State Romance Authors. I started writing the first book, and my husband said, you need to go out and find someone who knows what they're doing that can help you. And he actually went online and found this group for me.
Where is it? Is it closed? Can other people join it?
Anyone over 18. And we welcome new members any and every time. They meet at the total blank Homosassa Library.
Okay.
And
oh my gosh.
oh yes, we meet at the library.
You know, it's funny. I don't know. Okay, I got a little psychic thing to tell you.
Okay.
I had a question in my mind asking you if you've ever been to Homosassa Springs. I swear that was a question, and in my mind I'm thinking, why would I ask that question? It doesn't even make sense. Isn't
Okay.
So I had a little psychic moment right there.
There you go.
You know,
It happens.
but we've talked to writers group people who love talking about their groups, and they'll say, "But don't advertise it because we're a closed group."
Oh no, we're not a closed group. Now we are a member of Romance Writers of America, RWA, and we're a chapter of them actually, and they're international. I mean, they're huge. They're based in.
Is it men and women, or mostly women?
Oh yeah, we have two men. We have two members who are gentlemen, and. You don't have to write just romance. It says Romance Writers of America.
Right.
But obviously one is a paranormal and another one is another of my books is another theme. As long as there is a little thread of romance in there, then you can write suspense, mystery, murder, historicals, paranormals, whatever you want. But we're not just a hobby group. We're a group of professional writers who want to bring in anyone who wants to learn. They did with me. I would never have been able to do this without that group of women who have been so supportive.
Your character, Sarah, she even has unanswered questions about her childhood that she doesn't even realize she has. I mean, these characters are so real in your book.
It's very, well, Sarah was easy for me to write. Mm-hmm. My mother died when I was 10.
Oh.
And her parents were killed in a car accident at a very early age. And you have questions. There are things that you so wish you had been, you had asked when you had the chance. I just reunited over Facebook, God bless Facebook, with cousins and an aunt that I had lost contact with. Years ago. And so that was great. And it was very helpful for me to be able to write Sarah that way.
Were you able to ask questions of the lost but found relatives?
Actually, my grandmother had 10 children. And most of them has passed on now. I think two, my aunt and one uncle are still living. And we've been in contact since then, so that's been great.
Tell me about the publishing experience. How is that?
Oh.
It looks like it's a lot of work or something.
Well, I'm fortunate in that all 3 of these books have been published by the Wildrose Press.
Okay. And is that, where is that?
It's located in New York.
Okay.
One of the girls in my group, well, in fact, now there are several of us who are published by the Wildrose Press. When you get a manuscript ready and you want to sell it to someone, if you don't have connections, you have to find information about publishers. There is a book, and Writer's Digest, I believe is the name of it. I'm not sure. Something like that. A big, thick book. And it's full of information about all sorts of publishers, magazines, who does magazines, who does articles, who does books. And it will give you the information about what they expect in a manuscript. Particular publishers will only take mainstream contemporary books. Others will take historical. There will be people who will publish erotic books. They're all different things, and you can read in there what they're looking for, and you'll know who you're sending to if they would even be interested in your book. And I sent the manuscript out to 3 or 4 places, excuse me, and they said, "Oh, that's very nice, but it's not what we're looking for." And my husband said to me, "You need to find someone who is actually publishing a similar type of literature, something close
Makes
to what
sense.
you're doing."
Yeah.
And after I met my writers group, I'd been there with them, probably a year and a half, and one of them just got published by the Wildrose Press, and I thought, well, mine's not exactly like hers, but it's along those lines, so I submitted to them, and the rest is history.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really nice.
You have a painting in your book that almost seems to be like a character.
Yeah, she becomes a character, so to speak.
Yeah.
There is an Indian spirit that runs in and out of the chapters of the book, and the painting is. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but there are generations in this family, running from 1890 all the way up through today, and some of the descendants are depicted in that painting. And that helps Sarah become involved. When she buys her piece of jewelry, there is a woman selling it to her, and her face is so familiar, everything about her is familiar, and all at once she realizes she looks just like the woman in the painting hanging in my aunt and uncle's den. And when she gets back home, she checks it out, and she says, "Oh my God. It's got to be the same woman, but how could it be?"
Wow.
You know, and so that woman kind of moves in and out of all the chapters, and she'll be a very interesting character. I think you'll enjoy reading about her.
I love this book. You really got me from the beginning.
Oh,
It's
thank you. I
wonderful.
appreciate that.
So the book is called A Heart for All Time. Linda Tillis is who you're listening to, and she will be at 2 libraries real soon on Thursday at the Dunellen Public Library. It's a book signing event from
At 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock?
2:30, I think.
2:30. Okay, and then on Saturday you'll be at Bellevue at a book signing event over there. That's a more than. Is there more than one author in both events?
There'll be just me at
In
the
Dunellen.
Library, and I'll be speaking about domestic violence and the books.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
then the event in Bellevue, I believe, is something they do annually, and I understand it's very family-oriented, lots of activities for kids, big
Lee,
deal.
Exactly.
Lee Schwartz is so amazing
Yes.
and truly embraces the local author and understands the importance of authors in general. So he must read a ton, by the way.
He must, and Lee is like you. He wants me to narrate my own books. He wants me to
Well, he's
become
a smart man.
storyteller.
Yeah, you'd be wonderful.
He wants me to he said, "Are you a storyteller?" I said, "No, not actually, I'm a writer. And he said, well, you need to be a storyteller.
He's involved with the Fort King project of
Yes.
restoration, and he's got the storytellers that come in every couple of months, and you'd be perfect.
Well, thank you, dear.
You would be perfect.
Linda, it's good to
love
see you again. I'm not being rude by putting my head this way. I'm just trying to get everything lined up here. The computer's needing a little help, so. Linda, thank you for coming in here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Always good to see you. Love your
You
voice.
too.
Have fun at the book signings, and everybody
I
else
will
go
do
see
that.
Linda. We didn't get to ask you about what's the thing on Thursday? Violence or something?
I'll be speaking
Domestic?
about the books and domestic violence
Okay.
because a thread of that runs through most of my books.
Okay, I should have asked you about that more.
And you
That's
do have a
all right.
I didn't-
website and a Facebook page.
Yes, I
And-
do.
and your website is?
Follow me on Facebook. You'll find me, Linda Tillis,
Just
on
Linda
Facebook.
Tillis. Okay, thank you, Linda.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. The week after kicking out one another's diplomats, word of an invitation.
Reports out of TASS, which is state media in Russia, saying that during their phone conversation, President Trump asked Russian President Vladimir Putin to have a summit, possibly in Washington, D.C. There has been no confirmation of where exactly or how exactly they would pull this off.
Fox's Rich Edson. Fox News confirms that Winnie Mandela, the wife of anti-apartheid activist and former South African President Nelson Mandela, has died. She was 81. And teachers looking to turn